Have you ever heard this?
They were perfect at school today. They're so polite. We wish all kids were like this.
And you just stare, because that's not what you see at home. At home, there are meltdowns, explosions, shutdowns, arguments, maybe even harsh words that hit you straight in the chest. And you find yourself wondering, why does my child behave worse with me? If you've ever felt confused, hurt, or even slightly resentful about this, you are not alone, and there is a reason for it. Before we go further, just a reminder, we are not therapists or medical professionals. We're sharing lived experience, research-informed perspectives, and nervous system-based parenting reflections. Always consult professionals for individualized support. Now let's talk about this very real, very emotional experience. Why do autistic children often behave worse at home? And why does it hurt so much? Ready? Because this is Kind Parent Collective, less perfect parent, more real one. The mask comes off at home. One of the biggest reasons autistic children seem to behave better outside the home is masking. Masking is when a child suppresses natural responses in order to fit social expectations. At school, they may force eye contact, copy peers, suppress stimming, stay quiet even when overwhelmed, follow rules rigidly to avoid attention. All of that takes enormous energy. When they walk through your front door, that effort collapses. Home is where the mask comes off. And when the mask comes off, all the suppressed stress, sensory overload, confusion, and fatigue often come out too. It doesn't mean they save the worst for you on purpose. It means you are the safe place where they don't have to perform. Safety doesn't always look sweet. This is the hard truth. Safety doesn't always look gentle. When a child feels completely safe, they release what they've been holding in. Think of it like holding a beach ball underwater all day. Eventually, when you let go, it doesn't gently float up. It bursts to the surface. Home is that release point. You are not seeing their real bad behavior. You are seeing decompression. The after-school restraint collapse. There's even a term many parents use, restraint collapse. All day long, your child may be using executive functioning, sensory tolerance, and emotional control at maximum capacity. By the time they're home, there's nothing left. Small things trigger big reactions because the internal reserves are gone. A sibling chewing too loudly, a different snack than expected, a simple transition. It's not about the snack. Is about depletion. Why they can be meaner at home. Now let's talk about the part that stings. Sometimes it's not just meltdowns. Sometimes your child is harsher with you than anyone else. They might snap at you, correct you constantly, yell, say things like,
"I hate you,"
blame you for everything that went wrong. Meanwhile, teachers describe them as respectful. This can feel deeply personal, but here's something important to understand. Autistic children often use enormous effort to follow social rules outside the home. They may be hyper-aware of authority figures, hyper-aware of consequences, hyper-aware of standing out. At home, that vigilance drops. You are the one they trust not to reject them. So when frustration builds, it spills toward the safest target. That doesn't make it okay. Boundaries still matter, but it explains why it happens. You are not the cause of their behavior. You are the safe container for their overflow. Familiarity reduces social anxiety. Outside the home, social rules are clearer. There's structure, predictability, expectations. At home, things are looser, more fluid, more relational. And ironically, that flexibility can feel less structured for an autistic nervous system. Without rigid external structure, internal stress can show up more intensely. Also at school, consequences are immediate and consistent. At home, children often feel more secure that the relationship won't disappear, so they take more emotional risks. Again, not because they don't respect you, because they trust you. You see the whole child. Teachers and peers often see a curated slice of your child. You see the full picture. You see the sensory sensitivities, the rigid thinking, the emotional fatigue, the anxiety loops, the executive functioning crashes. It can feel like you're the only one carrying the hard parts, but you are simply seeing what others don't have access to. Home is where emotions practice. Children don't practice emotional regulation where they feel judged. They practice where they feel safe. Home becomes the emotional laboratory, and practice is messy. There will be failed attempts at communication, explosive experiments, rough drafts of regulation. That doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It means growth is happening in the only place it can. When it still feels personal. Even knowing all of this, it can still hurt. It can feel unfair. You may think,
why do I get the worst version?
That feeling is valid. You are human, and parenting a neurodivergent child requires enormous emotional capacity. If you're constantly receiving the raw, unfiltered version of their stress, you need support too. Compassion for your child does not mean dismissing your own exhaustion. Both can exist. Boundaries still matter. Understanding why behavior happens does not mean allowing harmful behavior. If your child is being verbally aggressive or physically unsafe, boundaries are still essential. But boundaries can coexist with understanding. You might say, I can see you're overwhelmed. I won't let you talk to me that way. Or, I know it's been a long day. I'm here to help, but I won't be yelled at. Calm firmness teaches safety and limits at the same time. You are not choosing between compassion and structure. You are integrating both. The long-term view. Children who feel safest at home often show their hardest moments there. But over time, something shifts. When home consistently responds with regulation, repair, and clear boundaries, children begin to internalize that safety. They learn,
I don't have to mask here. I can feel big things and still be loved. My family can handle my hard moments.
That internal security becomes the foundation for growth. You are not failing. If your child behaves worse at home, it does not mean you lack authority. It does not mean you're too soft. It does not mean you've done something wrong. It may actually mean you've created enough safety for their nervous system to exhale. And exhaling can be loud. If your child saves their hardest moments for you, it says something about the security of your relationship, even if it doesn't feel flattering in the moment. If this resonated, consider subscribing so more parents raising autistic and neurodivergent children can feel less isolated in these complex experiences. And tonight, if your house felt louder than everyone else's, remember, sometimes the safest place is the place where the mask comes off. And that says more about your parenting than any school report ever could. And if today was rough, you still did enough. Catch you on the next one.